What very realistic event could happen to make 2020 even worse? The big one finally happens in California that we've been warned about our entire lives. Hurricane season is coming up. Extinction of the bees. I found a snake under a blanket in the bedroom. It's already happening, people. Can we at least get through half of 2020 before trying to outdo it? Grocery stores are forced to close due to employees being infected by the coronavirus. A much overdue seismic. Big one. Hitting my state of California, the last catastrophic quake, as told by several tribes. Lore, was in the 1700s and created Humboldt Bay. The government is trying to take away all privacy. The coronavirus could mutate to become deadlier. Or we could just realize it is deadlier or has long-term effects we didn't know about. NASA is lying and that asteroid is really gonna hit Earth. But again, maybe that wouldn't be so bad after all. The PAC-NW experiences a 9.0 Cascadia subduction zone earthquake. Power outages, food shortages would start to be huge. Internet shutdown. Giant forest fires evacuating large parts of California during the escalating coronavirus outbreak. Random chimp event. Another hurricane. The Cascadia subduction zone shifts and a major earthquake wipes out a large chunk of the Pacific Northwest. State-sponsored hackers attacking the medical industry. Unexpected solar flare completely shuts down all electronics and internet for a long period, would be horrible for the quarantine. I'm in there. If Yellowstone erupted, you might as well grab a good bottle of your choice and kick back. If an enormous solar flare from the sun strikes Earth, it could take out our electrical grid, internet, and almost all electronic devices. A solar flare stuck in 1859 that would have caused $10 trillion worth of damages today. Terrorists decide to bomb important medical labs as well as the CDC and WHO. The Earn-It bill being passed by Congress. It effectively ends internet encryption and any perceived internet privacy we still have. https www.f org deeplinks 2020-03 Earn-It bill government's not-so-secret plan scan every message online. Edit 1. Thanks to those who've asked what can be done. Here's how you can let your congressional rep know that you expect them to vote against the Earn-It bill. Please share this and please make your voice heard. https act f org action protect our speech and security online reject the Graham-Blumenthal bill. Any disasters during this pandemic? Imagine if this is still spreading rapidly in April with mass quarantines. And a tornado outbreak on the likes of 2011 super outbreak hits. Injured normally have medical to go to. But if it's all filled up by sick patients, well, let's just hope it doesn't come to that. Everyone in the States, count yourselves lucky that this outbreak didn't hit in July to September and hope it gets cleared before then. Imagine if this was widespread during a Category 5 hurricane impact, when they normally tell an entire region to scram to other parts of the country. Edit. I'm well aware of comments regarding corona still a threat in June to September. You aren't unique. Please stop leaving those comments and instead reply to those that already have done so. Thank you. Another natural disaster. An insect plague. Another war. Another disease. Etc. At this point it's amazing that we're still here and not in a grave somewhere given the circumstances of the year so far. Dogs with bees in their mouth and when they bark they shoot bees at you. Natural. Yellowstone erupts. Man-made. Some moron decides a war is a good way to kickstart the economy after the corona disaster. Well, my mom died yesterday. So there's that. Edit. Definitely did not expect to wake up to all of this. Thank you all for your support. You have no idea how much that means to me. Economy collapsing beyond repair everywhere. Alright. This thread is worsening my anxiety. Definitely a hot war. A pandemic might create enough stress to cause the Middle East to erupt. Utah is having earthquakes this week. Nothing more than 6 though, so we're okay. And Utah is overdue for a massive earthquake so these little guys could trigger it. Edit. Keeping my facts straight. China finally pulls the trigger on Taiwan or Hong Kong. Someone deciding now is a good time to go to war when defenses are down? Edit. And my inbox got defeated. This is border violation. The secondary effects on society if the COVID-19 continues to increase exponentially. A lot of the strands of the fabric of society that we take for granted could start unraveling. We are in a very precarious situation. Cats 2. A Great Depression. A coronal mass ejection. There was a huge one in 1859 called the Carrington event. It destroyed telegraph lines. You're probably thinking, oh, those are rare, that'll never happen again. In 2012 a similar-sized flare missed the Earth by 9 days. If one did occur, we'd only have 17 hours from release to try and minimize damage. And less time if there was a previous smaller CME before a big one which pushed most of the solar wind out of the way. There are more than 3,000 satellites in orbit at the minute. We would lose almost every single one. And the ones that don't decay in their orbits and burn up in the atmosphere might crash into each other, creating a ring of space junk around the Earth, trapping us in for the foreseeable future. You don't want to know how bad it could be on Earth. North Korea, successfully launching a nuclear warhead that lands either in South Korea or Japan, then sparking an international incident. Or Russia invading the Baltic states. As some with a ton of anxiety during this time. I shouldn't have read this thread. It was nice knowing y'all. Let's not give 2020 any more bright ideas, please. Edit. Thanks for the awards. But I'm down to one good arm thanks to 2020. Let's stop trying to see how it can get worse. An alien invasion. This virus doesn't just clear up on its own. The vaccine takes longer than estimated to develop, but it's not a cure for those that already have it anyway, and then the virus mutates. International borders are closed. The military begins patrolling to make sure people are not sneaking in. Whole towns and cities are now closing to outsiders. People begin to stop trusting their neighbors or people they don't know. Governments stop behaving democratically and urge the population to report their own family, friends and neighbors to the authorities if they look sick. Nobody has a job. Money doesn't matter because it has no use. Violence is a feature of life. The government has gone to ground, and then reports that the military has started shooting civilians at the borders begin to circulate. Nuclear exchange between India and Pakistan. War. War is always worse. Multiple volcanic eruptions around the planet plunge the world into an ice age. 2 billion die. The rest wish they had. An attack on the power grid that disables it for several weeks. It would make the panic over the coronavirus look like a cakewalk by comparison. An unusually large coronal mass ejection from the sun knocks out electrical systems and telecommunications worldwide, resulting in an indefinite global blackout and complete radio silence. Still no toilet paper. Either IBM's Watson or Google's quantum computer becomes self-aware. Humanity fails the vibe check. 8-legged freaks. A purge. After a brief period of surviving COVID-19 due to the incredible cold, the Canadians decide they are sick of apologizing for nothing and the moose, and launch an all-out invasion of the US. 2020 cancelled. After careful consideration, we have decided that it is no longer in the best interests of everyone involved to proceed with 2020. While we recognize that a lot of hard work has gone into preparing for 2020, if we're honest, it has just turned into a bit of a shish*t show, and we feel it best just to call it off. We understand that some of you were looking forward to seeing what cruel and peculiar cluster F***K of a disaster 2020 would throw up next. But on balance, we believe it is probably best not to find out. We will instead provide ticket holders with a full refund or exchange, and start afresh with 2021 on Monday. Our plan is to deliver a more enjoyable year, similar to, say, 2016, which everyone thought was the absolute worst year of all time. But in retrospect was **King walk in the park. See you next year. The management. Later in the year, but an above-average hurricane season is again predicted this year. Could have something like Dorian make landfall. The most likely if Iran collapses. The nation is being destroyed by the virus, and there have been mass protests for months on the end. Them shooting down the jetliner only added to it, and the virus is just making things worse. Iran collapsing will lead to possibly America going to try to create stability. But it definitely won't, and will cause even more problems. A whole new wave of terror groups would likely form. Think of it if ISIS was actually an effective military force with the equipment, training and financial support to back it up, and you have what parts of the Iran military could become. Add to that nuclear material, not even weapons grade JSIT, the ability to have it and make some kind of dirty bomb. The collapse will also lead to an even bigger refuge crisis as well as other terrorist groups moving in to carve up the land. In short, when Iran collapses, and it probably will, it's gonna cause the whole Middle East to get worse. WW3 starts. Nickelback release a double album. PS. Thanks bro. The lizard people in the government reveal themselves. Probably a common trope here, but here's my take. A huge recession. As of 90% of the working class loses their job. International trade crippled due to airports, ports and borders being closed. Adding to that, trading companies going bankrupt. But wait, there's more to it. Even with their best efforts, governments around the globe failed to contain the coronavirus, resulting to them having to enact martial law. The people being hungry and angry, they respond with riots, and some even tries to overthrow their government. Lots of raids in houses or medical supplies and food warehouses, at least the one that still have some stock left. TLDR, a economic recession worse than the 1920 or 2008 crash, with a pandemic outbreak that government failed to contain and the resulting violence. Great Depression 2. Electric Boogaloo.